Hello everyone, welcome on back to Survival Challenge. Alright, so first things first, we have a bunch of things to sell this month. First is the eggs. This should be about $170,000, $180,000. Yeah, it's at a extremely good price right now. And then we do also have peas to sell as well, which are at an extremely good price too. Shouldn't take too long to get either of those things sold, which I obviously already have the eggs loaded up. We do have the grass fields I need to get fertilized. I could probably sell the wood products maybe too, but I did a little bit more flattening around the goat pen. It's a little bit better now. It's not perfect still, but it's getting better. It's getting better. I'll make sure this is at the farmer's market, and that is sell everything. I think it's 7%. Yeah, 7% environmental bonus. Obviously, it could be better. It was better literally last month. And then I did the grass cutting, and well, that kind of docked it down. Because from what I remember in 22, I don't think you had to fertilize it every time. I seem to remember not, at least. Maybe it added enough in that didn't have that issue, but clearly that must not be the case. So that'll be something I'll have to try to remember to do after every cut, which isn't terrible, but still something to keep in mind and make sure it gets done. Yeah, I think if we do buy the land, we'll plow up like one of the two fields that I would probably put in there. Like, I'm thinking pretty big fields. Just because the one closer to the current farm would have trees kind of in that area, and I have yet to check if the sawmill could handle more. So I kind of need to check on that first before I go and cut a bunch of trees down, and then, I got nowhere to put them, or there's no way I can put them in the sawmill and actually see it finish. There's quite a few trees. Part of me is tempted to just not cut them down and just plow around them, but you can see there is a bunch in there. All the way to, let's see, it's back here somewhere. We cut them all the way back here. There's a lot of trees. But like I said, I'm not sure if I want to try to take them all, or... I mean, technically I could try to cut up into here even and combine it in. I mean... It's a lot of trees. That would be something I would have to do almost off camera. I think I'd have to do a lot of that work. Because that would be such a... It'd be a thing, one of those things where it wouldn't be the most entertaining thing to watch. So I just cut down, 25 trees basically, and move them to the sawmill. It wouldn't be the best thing to watch, probably. And we'll get this trailer here. Yeah, already up to $385,000, so we can very easily afford a, oh yeah, I suppose there's just, yeah. We could very easily afford that right now. It's $170,000 for the piece of land. I would probably get a bigger plow, but... And more likely, if we buy this piece, then we'd obviously buy this piece at some point. But that wouldn't be immediate. And if I did buy this piece, I would probably just make like one large field. We'd possibly look at a bigger header in the future then. Even though I think our header's fairly large, from what I remember at least. If I remember right, yeah, I can't really do it how I want. I have to move the pallets out. We can take a gander here at what size header we have. I know I bought a 35 foot. There we go. That did not take long to find. So obviously, if we were to upgrade, we'd be looking at, you know, a 50 foot or a 45 foot. Would our roads support that? Probably not. Which in that case, that would be nice. Oh, I wish I had a New Holland header. In that case, it might just be best to kind of build a barn with the combine is kind of separate from the yard. When we have this one, we probably have the least amount of horsepower in it too, but we could upgrade it for 32,000. A little bit more horsepower. Like it might be best then to build a small barn or a shed for the combine out here, away from the trees. So I don't have to drive through there all the time, because for the most part, this is just going to be the farmyard up here. I'm not going to have any fields for it to have to come up here and harvest at any point. It's going to be separate, so maybe having a separate shed or something down there for it would be something to consider. And I could potentially keep some other items down there too if it's a large enough shed. You know, I could move like the mower stuff maybe down there because it wouldn't be used here. Or I could put the forage wagon away actually. And I could actually move, you know, planters and stuff into there. But I do need to move stuff in there. I realize I haven't yet. It is something that I need to do. I picked this up with the front, and my plan was to get it sold while I brought this down. Because, like I said, I don't think the header would fit through that. But we could just look to store the combine down here instead. Basically where it is right now. But either we could, you know, put it on this field or, I don't know, put it somewhere. Or right next to this field or on this corner somewhere. So this should still be what, 95,000? 96,000? Quite a bit of money. Like, we're making a lot of money today. $6,500 in environmental score. It was 97 grand for just the peas. So it was what, 103,000 total? Yeah, we made a lot. We started with what, $190,000. So we made what, $300,000 today. In pretty short time too. But we're gonna spend some on land. And then I can start, once fields are finishing up, combining some things and, you know, so that isn't such a pain. We'd have bigger fields, basically. We'd have less, but bigger. So in the end, it'll end up being about the same total yield. Repaint, repair, 5 grand. And as far as I know, I should be able to buy the new one too. I might need the front weight for it. That was my only concern. I'm not 100%. Like I said, that's my only concern, is it might need a weight, and we do not have one. It is technically higher horsepower than what it says, but it should be fine. Yeah, like we should get one. They're fairly cheap. I make it a color that kind of stands out so I can actually see it. Something that, you know, stands out. You can easily, clearly see it. We'll buy that too then. I think we'd probably be fine with this, but because your center of gravity is a little bit different on the fast track than a normal tractor. It might be fine on here, but it's $2,000. It's not terrible amount. All right, so I think I'll just park this here. Oh, you can clearly see we would not own up to the trees, actually. We probably own about right here. Somewhere right in here. Well, back it up a little bit. Right in here somewhere. But we would not own those trees. We wouldn't even own all the way that way. But still, there's a lot of land here. I would try to separate it fairly evenly, so I try to cut it off like right in here. And you got to figure in that little bit for a road, and then whatever is left over here, we kind of make it do a grass field. Let's get that turned off for now. But let's get to the versatile. I do need to get the 2 fields sprayed. I don't want a repeat of last time. He's not too badly, at least. And we can get some liquid fertilizer. Not that much. I don't think we need tons of it. And we'll buy, or we'll get some liquid fertilizer into here. As far as I know, I think I have the option for it to only apply like a certain amount of fertilizer where needed to. I think. One of this is high in some spots. This is, from what I could tell, is what was docking us. So I'm gonna assume that's what it is. Yeah, it is adding a decent amount. Yeah, it has the thing where it only applies the exact amount it needs for that piece of land. So you use a lot less fertilizer as well. Yeah, you can see it. I guess it is adding a decent amount. So the next cut off of this will be really good. Yeah, and we'll see on. Obviously, we'll have to get. Make sure we keep on top of this too. That is the biggest thing, is we have to try to keep on top of things and not, you know, not. I was going to buy this too, which will affect this even more. But we'll buy this piece of land. It looks to be a fairly loamy field. Oh, it's starting out pretty good outside of soil sampling, which it won't get done right away. I'm not going to do that, obviously, until it's actually time to buy it after the fields have been plowed up. I can't even put lime down or anything in the one that we're probably going to create today until the other field's been done. So I will have to check up on the sawmill, see if we can handle more trees in there. If I think we can, then I'll cut a bunch down and put them in there. So we'll see, I guess. I think it should be fine, but right now it's going through like 2,000 liters a month, I think it is. Something like that. Be like 2,500 liters a month. So in total there'd be like 45 months in there, which right now is fine. And obviously we might skip some months here and there. A perfect example is this wants some too? Okay. A perfect example is we might end up skipping next month. You never know. Because we are pretty low on things to do. I mean, obviously we could, if we got that field plowed, then we could lime it, I guess. That would be something that needs to be done. And really, this piece over here will not be grassed for very long then. Honestly, even this field may not be. Because the long-term goal is to make one arable field like right over here. And then the grass field would be right here next to the production. Then I would combine this field and this field, combine these top two and then these two. And likely this one would be like the sorghum field here. Then we, canola or something, and then this field for whatever. That would probably be the long-term plan. And then if we buy 42 at some point, this would likely just be one giant piece of arable field. Kind of the thought process, at least. Long term. Probably, obviously not going to happen right away. I don't think it will. But it is kind of what I'm thinking at the current moment. Something I'll have to keep an eye on and making sure that we're doing everything we can to make that happen. And like I said, I maybe would want to consider eventually getting a larger header and the combine, and then keeping the combine down here in its a separate shed or something. Which obviously I'd have to try not to hit that, but I have to try to find a shed that it would fit well in, which is easier said than done. I think that's about as much as I can put on it. I can take a gander, a quick little glance at sheds, but like I said, there's nothing that's super huge that I would think this would fit in. This actually this would probably fit in here. Well, it might be too low. Yeah, I think that'd be too low. It needs to be a pretty tall shed. That would be kind of the negative here. I can clearly see that would be too tall or too short. It would just barely fit under here. I feel like there's wasted space in there. Like there's a part of it that's just, you can see where it would end and there's just wasted space. But easily fit in one of these. Easily fit. It'd be way too big, honestly. But it would fit. It would fit in here. I wish there was a backing to it. Yeah, I'd have to probably look at some in a separate save, kind of make sure I'm getting something that I like too. I don't want to spend money on something that I'm not sure on. Like this would honestly fit pretty well, and I wouldn't mind it. But there just seems like this wasted space at that point, so kind of tempted to not because of that. I don't know. Yeah, I'll have to probably take a look-see off camera. I could do this too. This is a fairly cheap option that it would fit in. Oh, there's different designs. Just two different ones. Which I'd want that one, but that is something that I noticed when I was looking for that shed, was that a lot of them didn't have backings on it, and maybe they just weren't quite what I wanted to, and I can be a little bit particular on what I like, clearly. This one is going to be actually kind of interesting to make, because I can't go all the way up to the road. Because if I do that, then I'm going to here. How much is this? 144,000. So that will leave us with about $150,000. We wouldn't have a ton. We couldn't afford like larger items, and we don't have a bunch of things coming up to sell yet until summertime. I'm almost tempted just to buy both. Then in the future we can try to buy something around here, but yeah, I think this field probably have pretty solid soil on it. Just for it to be, it'd be so much easier. Yeah, I'll buy it. I know I'm not going to actually get to working in this field for a little while. I know that. I'm surprised this is 70. It must, oh, did I harvest? Must be because I planted it. I don't know. There has to be a reason why it's saying it's low. I don't think there's anything. I mean, this field could be. But obviously, we may not get into that field for quite some time. It'll take a little bit, but we'll get around to it. This is going to make my day a lot easier here, though, which is the main reason I did it. So I can just go right up to the road instead of... Try to line up where it's... Oh, I can make that a lot bigger. So I'm trying to line up with the 50. I would prefer a larger grass field than arable field, but... I'm still not quite close. That would put me down here. This is a big... It'd be a big field, I can see that. So we'll just kind of go somewhere in here. I would probably prefer a slightly bigger grass field than arable field. Just to be honest. Not lower the weight, just lower the plow. And allow create fields. Try to keep this fairly straight going through here. It looks like I actually lined it up fairly well with the 50. Better than I was expecting. And there's, like I said, there's a lot of trees in here we could cut down for the grass field. Oh, we can see if I own this one. Yeah, figured. But I should own this one. These are massive trees, so... Yeah, then I'll figure out how far or how long the one sawmill will go and take. If it's a while, then I'm gonna buy a separate one, another one. I don't think they're too costly. I can just quickly take a gander here. Yeah, they're 10 grand. 10 grand. That's not too bad. So I would just probably put it over here because this is going to become a kind of a production area. And then we can bring a bunch of these trees. I likely would go a little bit like right into here somewhere. Somewhere where it's kind of not too flat or somewhat flat still. And we would take a decent amount of trees down. We can go all the way up to here. So basically all of this would be taken down. And this oak tree down here, and there'd be another oak tree would probably be cut and put into here. We'd have a lot of oak trees in there. It would be a fairly full sawmill. Okay, I was about to say, can I destroy this with lumberjack, or... If I can't, then, you know, obviously I can just use def controls, but... Yeah, I think we are going to be massively expanding the farm very quickly, too. It is quite impressive almost. Just to see how much it is grown in this little bit. I would like to try to make this line a little bit straighter, but I also know it is right on the edge, so I don't know how much we would own. It's not terrible, but still. Well, I think I will just go ahead and start a time lapse. We'll get this all done here. I'll probably end up doing a little bit of landscaping too, I'm sure. That'll probably be off camera. I do like a little bit of a grass line just in between the field and the road. So, you know, obviously I might plow right up to the edge, but it'll be corrected later. Alright, we'll talk to everyone once the time lapse is done. Alright, so we're on the last strip to be plowed. And then this field is all plowed up. That field obviously will probably won't be immediate. Just because I obviously do need to do a bunch of clearing for land. And I might even put a gravel road in there, and that way I kind of have a better idea how to separate things too and where to start it. But yeah, this one probably won't be immediate. I mean, it's probably smaller than that, but it's hard to say 'cause I'm going to be taking some trees, and some of it will end up being into this piece of land as well. And like I said, more than likely we'll end up getting a second sawmill. That's kind of what it's looking like. Just the sheer amount of trees in here that would be cut down. Quite a few. And obviously we'll see on... Oh. On that field there, obviously I bought it, but I'm not sure when it's going to get plowed up. We will get there eventually, and the plan is to probably just make it one large arable field that will do, I don't know, soybeans in it once a month or once a year. Or... Honestly, canola would make a decent amount of sense, and then we could run maybe soybeans more in these. Just because it'd be such a large field. I don't want to have to do the harvest all the time. And the canola is like a 10-month growth time, so it's like once every year we'd have to do it. It wouldn't be that often that we'd have a massive harvest. I think that probably would be best, and then we could kind of put that into the mill. Which honestly I would have to consider. We obviously make a lot of olives, so I'd be curious if that wouldn't be a bad idea to try to put into a production of some sort. Or if we want to try to move it to something else, I could move it to grapes and then get one of the raisin factories. That would be another thought. I don't think any of these other ones have, like, parsnips and stuff have, like, the preserved food and stuff. I've done the raisins before. I'm not sure how much that factory is, though. I would assume not cheap, because I think obviously there's the smaller one that is 30 some grand, but That's the oil mill. That's the large, grape processing, $240,000. It's a fairly sizable building too. Yeah, it's a pretty sizable building. More like, well, I guess it would be grass. I guess I won't have to worry about it. But yeah, then I'd have to place it somewhere in here. Yeah, like I said, it'd be a massive building. Yeah, that would probably be a fairly good idea, but that's obviously a little bit far out. It would somewhat depend on how much this would make for grapes a month. 4,000 liters. So it's pretty easy math, actually. Then this would probably make, yeah, this would make it a decent amount more. Yeah, it'd be a decent amount more. Yeah, I would say that's about everything for today. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Hope to see you in the next video. Bye.